You'll want to start by warming up the bike for about 5 minutes. There's 3 8mm bolts here, here, and one under here holding the skid plate on. Go ahead and take that off. Next, go ahead and remove the bolt here, which is your vent bolt. Mine's an 11mm, but it's not the stock one, so you have to figure out what yours is. Next, under the bike, there's a 10mm bolt here that you pull out that'll drain down the oil reservoir. There's also a screen in here, screen filter. If you've never checked it, you might want to pull this clamp off, pull the hose off, and pull the screen filter out. You do need to take this hose off though. You can't maneuver the screen out without bending it if you don't. Let's go ahead and remove this, and you'll start getting some oil. And I got an O-ring on there, so make sure you preserve those. Next, you're going to have a 12mm bolt back under this frame rail on the right side of the bike. You're going to need a box end or open end wrench to get to it. So go ahead and take that off. So go ahead and let that drain down for a couple minutes, and then we'll button everything back up, put the oil in. If you're going to do an oil filter change, you're going to need to remove these 3 Allen head bolts. Keep note of where they go because a couple are longer. Pull this off, pull the filter out, put the new one in, put it back on. There's a couple little O-rings in here for some oil galleys that tend to go bad. I had to replace mine because it started leaking down here, so keep note of that. So after it's done dripping down and you're empty, just work in reverse, put your bolts back on, get it tightened back up. You can put your shield back on, and then we'll get to filling. Another thing to be careful on this whole bike is so much of it's aluminum. When you're putting all your bolts back in and everything, err on the side of being a little loose, and you can always tighten it back up if it's dripping, but you definitely don't want to go over tight and strip out the threads. Alright, when you're done, make sure you put everything back. Should have been a total of 6 bolts. 3 for the shield, 1 vent bolt, and 2 drain bolts. And now we'll fill it up. Here is the oil capacity. We're today going to be doing 1.15 liters because we're not doing the oil filter. If you are, it's 1.25, and you'll never use 1.4. That's when a total motor rebuild. And you will be above the oil window. 38.886 fluid ounces. This is the oil I run. I'm going to do 36 ounces and then add the remainder. I believe this is the oil the bike calls for. So you pour your oil in here. Just your little cap. Make sure your O-ring is still good on there. Maybe clean it off. After you fill it up, you can just make sure that the oil is over the inspection window, which it should be. And you can go ahead and start her up and see how she runs. One last thing you are supposed to do is come over to the right side of the bike. You're supposed to crack this little bleeder screw and make sure that it drips oil out, and that'll make sure that you're getting oil to the top end of your bike. Make sure your oil pump is working properly. So you run it, crack that, and if you don't get oil within 1 minute coming out of it, then shut it down. You might have a problem, but I've never had that problem, so you shouldn't either, if you're lucky. I figured I'd just show you. Got the bike running. This is cracked. Give it a minute. I don't know if you guys can see that, but I'm starting to get oil coming off. That's all you gotta do. Just tighten it back up. That's also an 8mm bolt. So I just took it out, cruised it around, The other thing you want to make sure is run it. Check the inspection window with the bike level. It should fill the window up. That's with the bike leaning down. But when you lift the bike back up to level, it will fill the inspection window. Thanks for watching.